Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into Marketing Corner once again. My name is Casper. I'm here with Jennifer. How are you, Jen?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really good. Really good. I'm really excited to be doing this again. We had a bit of a hiatus, so to speak, right? Like half a year where stuff happened, but
Quite a bit, yeah.
but now we released the episodes and people seem to be liking it. So I'm glad we found the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. What's been going on?
Oh, damn. Let's so much, right? I changed jobs, joined this fintech rocket ship. I'm with a company called United Fintech now. At the same time, I've had Corona. Trust me, it's not something COVID. It's not something you want to try, even for your worst enemy. But I did that. Survived it. I'm still here, and yeah, been super busy. Hired a few team members from a new team and stuff. So, yeah. What about you?
Oh, no big. I'm just 8 months pregnant
Oh yeah, that's
during a heat wave.
right.
So yeah, I'm still the director of marketing at Dixa, but started my maternity leave in April. So expecting a little girl in July, which is really exciting.
That's really
But,
cool.
I'm big and warm and tired,
Yeah.
but excited.
We're here for podcasting, right?
Yes.
It's good. Like a lot of things have happened, but just as a recap for everyone, we decided to do this back in December, and we recorded a few episodes. Then life happened, and now people start to pick it up. So we decided, okay, let's do this for real. So we're planning to release an episode every week, approximately midweek, so around Wednesdays, and there'll be approximately 20 minutes plus minus a few minutes, something like that, and we'll still focus on B2B marketing. That's what we know the most. But today's topic is actually marketing during COVID. It's something we had requested a while back, and we thought it was kind of funny to take a look at it now, because now there was a huge hype. I don't know about you, Jen, but I feel like there was so much talk about it when it started last year, right? There was so much discussion, what to do, what are you like, everything, working from home, all this stuff, and now it's died down a bit, and that's maybe where I find it a little bit more interesting to talk about. I don't know your take on COVID on general scale, but do you also feel the same that it's died down in terms of how many people talk about it from a marketing perspective now?
Yeah, I think I mean that was actually the panel we shared, didn't we, in Tech Barbecue,
Yeah,
and how Corona was changing marketing, and we were kind of in it at the time, and now at least we are in Denmark, kind of coming out the other side, and we have, I think, a better idea of what is this new normal going to look like, and instead of kind of shifting from this whole crisis management, how are we going to get through this? Now we're kind of through it, but everything has changed. And
yeah,
so what is that going to look like going forward, particularly with marketing, particularly with these changes to data sharing and the new iOS changes and things like that? People are working from home more now, which means targeting could be a little bit more difficult. So how do we as marketers adapt to this new normal?
yeah, exactly. And I think that's exactly the point, right? I think even so we did a Jen and I did a tech barbecue talk, and I think it was back in November last year, and now we're in June, closing up in July. So much has happened, right? And I think one of the things I remember I talked about on the tech barbecue panel here actually was that I saw a lot of trends in the data initially when COVID came out, and I think that's still pretty interesting to look at, because that again has changed completely since then. So back then, what happened was when once COVID hit around, I think it was March last year, officially, right? Or like that was really when it kicked in around, at least around Denmark too, and also the US. And what you immediately saw was just like all the marketing budgets just took a huge dip, right? So all the big brands were like, we have no idea what's going on. Let's just cut our marketing. And I am not to humble brag here, but I think we did back then when I was at Templify, we said, okay, we kind of anticipated that everyone would do that. So we were like, our tool Templify's tool works really good under in this working from home environment. So we decided just to say, okay, let's just push pedal to the metal, right? So we actually increased our budget. And the funny thing we saw was that the impressions were cheaper than ever, clicks were cheaper than ever for approximately 1.5 months, until everyone realized, okay, the world is not going to burn that, but like from a marketing perspective, we can still do marketing. Like we can still do business. I don't know. Did you see like did you have some of the same experience back then?
Yes, but we didn't actually take the same action as you. That probably would have been a wise thing to do, but we had to say goodbye to quite a few people
Yeah.
as part of Corona, unfortunately, and that meant the marketing team at Dixa went from 7 people to 3, and that was between due to changing direction. We had to be really, really hyper focused on what we were going to do, and instead of growing, we just needed to maintain. But also, we had a hiring freeze. We had 2 people go on parental leave. There's a bunch of different factors that contributed to that. And so our strategy was to just like laser focus. What is it that we're trying to do? Who are we trying to win? What channels are working? And we kind of went into survival mode for what we thought was going to be only a couple of months, ended up being about 6 months. And now we're kind of coming out of it. We're back to 9 people. We're looking to grow to 12. So, we're on the right path. But our strategy was to just laser focus. Let's get through this. And also let's help, because we're B2B, it's in our interest to make sure other companies stay afloat. And, so we came up with strategies of how we can help our target market to try to make sure that everyone can kind of keep going
No, but
during this time. Yeah.
I think that's great. Like, and I think a lot of companies did that, right? I talked to an agency the other day, and they said they never had such a big boom as around summer, like August last year, when people had this like, okay, COVID has been a thing. Now summer has, like there wasn't that many precautions during the summer as like the rest of the period, right? So they were like, okay, now everyone just spent their entire budgets in August, right? Like, and I think these huge trends are quite interesting, and I think we're still seeing some of it today. What do you think has changed since back then in terms of marketing? Like what is different from when we originated into COVID, all that jazz, and until now, like when we're here a little bit more than a year later.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned that a lot of people are coming out of hibernation. They are spending their budgets. They're looking to spend money and kind of get things back on track, but they're much smarter. They're much clearer, I think, on what they want. And I think I read a McKinsey report that said we had 5 years of digital adoption take place within 8 weeks, because people are getting more used to buying things online, more digital savvy, which is great for B2B digital marketers like us. So I think at the same time, though, we've had a lot of changes in terms of, or a lot of challenges in terms of, the iOS update about targeting, people going home and working from home / office, the kind of hybrid, which I think you're probably going to talk a bit about later.
No, but exactly.
So I think, there's definitely challenges, but also at the same time, because people are more digital savvy, that could make our lives maybe a little bit more exciting.
No, absolutely. I think there's like everyone's like these days from a pure tracking perspective, everyone's really panicking. Like especially agencies are really panicking these days, because they're faced with the world where essentially all their they have no way of proving their worth. Like of course they do, but harder. It's going to be way harder for them to prove their worth. You have iOS 14, you have ITP, you have all these different things that have come into fruition over like the last few years, and then there's this new email update coming now, so now you can't track emails either, right? Like track if they've opened it even, right? Like it's gonna be really, really hard. So, and that leads me back to something I have believed in for a while, which goes against everything I preach sometimes, but I think sometimes a lot of people, when they look at me, and also when they talk to us B2B marketeers and that have a lot of stake in performance marketing, they always think that we are like, it's all about the tracking, all about lead generation and stuff like that. But here's the fact: like branding is going to be the thing moving forward, and it really hurts me to say it, but it's really going to be so. Like I don't like, at the same time I don't mind it, but it actually separates the good marketeers from the bad ones even more. I think the most important thing is that one thing I've saw a trend in is that customers over this time have preferred trusted brands. So the trusted brands that already had a brand position, these guys have won. Like they've won pretty hard for. I'm not saying that it's a very generic thing to say, but overall, that's what I've seen. Does that mean you can't challenge them? Of course you can. But overall, if you look at it from a broader perspective, it's a good time to build brand. Why is it a good time to build brand? Because tracking becomes harder. The tracking becomes harder because of iOS 14 and all these things we talk about, but also because now it's a new normal where people can work from home. That means you have to back in the day you could track the IP of the office, right? You can have IP tracking and track the office, and then okay, we had a person visiting from Microsoft, whatever, so big and all these things made it a lot easier to keep track of. Now you don't have that anymore, at least 2 to 3 days out of the week, right? So so people will be working from home to a more large extent, which makes it harder. The thing I think that can make it easier, like the thing I think people have to do, in my opinion, is that you have to find a way to, even more so than you did before, but try to attach revenue to whatever you do. That might be decreasing, but you have to prove it somehow, right? We talk a lot about these metrics and stuff, but if you can't prove it when you go into this branding world, if you can't prove anything, then I think we're back to square one, like 20 years ago. I don't know what your take is on that.
No, I think that's an excellent point. I think trust is definitely going to be a big issue. A brand that can be trusted, a brand that's recognized, exactly like you pointed out. If we can't retarget people, we have to have them remember who we are. So when they see our ad in the office and they go home, are they going to Google us or Bing us? Some people do as well. But I think also brand loyalty has been challenged because there are some companies who handled this really badly.
Yeah.
Right. There's some companies who really pissed off a lot of people. And so that's also a chance for people to jump in there. I mean, Amazon saw a 26% increase in orders, but then that New York Times op-ed came out that showed how they treat their staff and during Corona, and it was really shitty. And, so some people are looking to go more local and looking to help smaller companies. And so that's a great chance for smaller startups like you and I both work for to kind of jump on that and try to, if you held your head high and you had integrity during Corona and you actually helped people, that was a really great chance to get that brand loyalty and that trust that now is the time to capitalize.
I absolutely agree. A funny thing that this is so crazy. I like previously to this period, I thought I would never say this, but one thing I actually think might be having a bit of a resurgence is something as simple as sponsorships, and not online sponsorships, but big event sponsorships. And here I talk right now we're recording in the middle of the European Championships in football, right, in soccer. And there was this everyone have heard of this crisis or this happening where Ronaldo moves his Coke and say, please don't drink Coke, drink water. And I think the attention on these big events like the European Championship, don't get me wrong, it would always be huge. But I feel it's even bigger now. Like, I don't have any data to back this up, unfortunately, but I feel like these events bring us together in a way they've never done before. Like Denmark had this Christian Eriksen incident. He seems to be well, which is great. But that brought us together like in a way I've never seen before. Like you had a whole country just sitting there waiting, like, and all these other football players around the championship, and then we won the other day against Russia, right? And now the whole country's just like, yeah. And at the same time, you know what everyone noticed as well? The TikTok was sponsoring the European Championship. Right?
I was noticing that too. I was like, TikTok?
Exactly. Yeah. But I think it's brilliant. Like, I think it's brilliant. I think it's super smart because, like, what do you do these days to actually, like, separate you? And everyone else is pulling back some of their sponsorship money. When they pull back, that's maybe when it's interesting again. Like, I'm just saying, like, I've never done a sponsorship in my life, but if I was like a big brand thing, I would seriously consider actually doing it now.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, because you're absolutely right. I think we're also starved for human interaction and getting to go outside and do stuff. And now we can. So it carries a much bigger kind of gravitas. These events, they mean so much more than they used to. I think that's a really interesting point. And that Coca-Cola thing was brilliant with Ronaldo. And the way
awesome,
it
right? It actually leads me to another point on it, because one thing we talked about also is like, since some marketing teams were cut down, hopefully some of it was replenished. But But one thing was that the marketing teams had to be, we had to adjust in a way where rapid change was just the new normal, right? Like everything could change from day one. Like, okay, now lockdown, now no lockdown, now lockdown, no lockdown, right? Like it's literally when we're recording this, we're doing this from home as we had a Corona incident at the office, right? So it's you have to adjust all the time, and then the fast response rate kind of becomes like a key differentiator. And actually, so IKEA, I think it was the day after, I think it was that fast, they released an ad that said, hey, if you want to drink water or something, like use this bottle. Like in response to the Ronaldo incident, right? I know they're a big team and it's easier to do this stuff when we're really huge, but it just shows that these rapid response rates, like that actually means something. And being able to do that is something I would say is a requirement moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. And we actually did something I think quite clever at Dixel, though I'm probably biased. But you know, when we knew this was coming in, when we knew Corona was happening, you know, we didn't know what was happening, but we knew it was bad. We knew we had to do something fast. And so I actually kind of dug out my old college psychology, you know,
Okay.
Memories, and was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is
Yeah.
what do we as human beings need to survive, right? And when you're going through a pandemic, an unprecedented pandemic that no one has ever experienced before, what is it that we need? We need security. We need to know we have financial security. We need to know we're healthy. What are our basic needs? Yeah. And so we at Dixo were like, how can we make this easier for people? You know, obviously it's in our interest to make sure that we still generate business, but it's also in our interest to make sure that other people can survive and businesses survive. And so what we actually did was we offered our product for free to remove financial barriers. We offered customer support for free. We offered to get you online or working remotely within a day, because we knew a lot of teams were transitioning. And because we are a customer service platform, a lot of customer agents, people who work on call centers, for example, have to be on site, right? That's not safe for them. Hey, we can get you on the cloud within a day. Go home, work from the safety of your home. So we gave it for free. We gave the integrations for free. We removed as many barriers as we could, so that champion, that person who really wants to get Dixa, but they have all these hurdles to jump through, we tried to remove as many as we could and said, once we get out of this, 6 months, I think, is the free period, then we'll talk about payment. And if you want to keep using us, great. If not, good luck.
And that's quite radical, actually, right? Like that's really changing like a big part of your business.
It was a risk. I mean, we are also lucky that we had a B round funding in February, and then everything went crazy in March. So we had the money, and a lot of startups are not in that position. No. So I'm not saying everyone do this, but we were in a financial position that we could give things away for free. No. Forecasting that once people are on the platform, the stickiness of the platform, we have the confidence in the platform that they'll stay, and a majority did stay. So that's kind of how we, April was our best month ever, which was kind of during the height of Corona. Right. But it's because, and we didn't have a lot of people drop off. And also it came back to that idea of helping people. We tried to build a brand. We were a brand you could trust. We were there to help you. And that helped not only tide us over, but helped us actually thrive to come out the other side of this. And now we're growing again exponentially. And so I think that quick reaction, but also taking into account that you're in a position to react.
I'm 100% sure that the companies who adopted like different pricing models and different really changed their offerings during this period are the ones who are winning. The question for me is still, what do you do moving forward? I don't know about you guys, but you probably can't give away your product for free forever, right? So, so there has to come a point where some of that reverts. But how do you? What is changing in that space? I feel, to be honest, I'm not sure yet. But I think a lot of people are debating how to adjust something like their pricing in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely giving a lot of people things to think about. And once that's also the not the problem, but the consideration you make is that once you build that trust, you have to maintain that trust. So we can't go, okay, now that we're out of Corona, we've doubled our prices. That's not going to be a great way of handling it. So it's now that we built that trust, we have to maintain that trust, and it does put kind of extra pressure on because we're being held to a higher standard now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
A lot of the brands who did help people through are going to have to elevate their support, their processes, their transparency. You have to take everything up a notch. And as I mentioned with Amazon, because people are looking at you, you have to think about your employer branding. You have to think about how you're treating your people. You have to think, that you're kind of under a microscope now more than ever, because people kind of want to see, are you gonna maintain this? Are you going to continue to be this brand that we trust?
Of course,
or is this a one-off?
The focus is here on the big brands, right? But I think it trickles down. One thing, just two things before we end for today, I think. But one thing I've at least also noticed is that there's been a lot of actually a high like this, at least in Denmark, in Copenhagen, the startup scene has never seen as much funding this period as they have before. Does that necessarily tie into COVID? I'm not too sure, but I'm quite sure that tech as a SaaS in general is a really good investment right now. It's really because SaaS is sticking around even if you're working from home, at least, right? So rather than investing in, I don't know, some new bar or alcohol beverages or something that's really not on shaky ground because the bars are closed and stuff like that, right? Then investing in something like SaaS, at least for at least 6 months and almost the last 12 months, it's been a really good idea. And we've seen a massive influx of investment across the board. So I think other people are noticing that this is going to stick around. Right?
Yeah, and that ties in again with that 5 years of digital adoption within 8 weeks. More and more people are digital savvy. More and more people are learning how to do online shopping, e-commerce, and so that is going to be the future moving forward.
One thing, this is a little bit unrelated to what we just talked about, but I just remembered. But beforehand, I think one thing, if there's one takeaway we didn't bring up, is that when everyone moves to working from home, even though your email tracking is worse than it used to be, collecting emails is probably going to be the most important thing for you as a marketeer moving forward. Because if you can't track anything anymore because they're working from home, ITP, iOS, all that stuff, right? Then collecting their emails is a safe way to know you have access to these people, even though you can't even track how the email performs anymore. But at least that's somewhat better than having nothing, right? So I also think if there's a practical takeaway from this, then collect more emails.
I'll leave it at that because I think I think that's a great point. And I think it's collecting emails, it's collecting the consent to communicate with people, and then in order to do that, you need to build your brand and you need to be someone who's trustworthy. You need to have something to offer. You have to be very clear on your offering, very clear on your value, very clear on the pain points you solve. So it all comes down to how you communicate, how you build your brand. Am I going to let you email me?
Yes, exactly.
Do I want you to email me? Do I? And that's how, and in a way, yes, that makes our lives a little bit harder, but it makes better marketers, right? And you're providing a value. And that's where we can finally show that we're not these black hat coming in, taking your data and selling you, snake oil.
And I was about to say, and on that note, I think we end for today. Because I think that's a really good point. Let's prove we're not black hats.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks so
take
much.
care and have a great day.
Bye-bye.